Good morning, students. Welcome to your English class. Today we are going to take up chapter number 12 from your literature book. Name of the chapter is Huck Saves the Life of Widow Douglas. This extract has been taken from the famous book The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, written by famous author Mark Twain. So in this story, the main characters are Huck, who is an orphan, Red Joe and his companion, who are criminals, Mr. Jones, who is an old, brave and honest man, his two sons, and Widow Douglas. So the story begins that Huck was hiding in that side street behind the inn at 11 o'clock. All the lights in the inn went out. Everybody's asleep now, thought Huck. I'm going to sleep too. So the Huck thinks that now, since the light of the inn has went out, so he should also go and sleep. But suddenly he hears a faint sound. Faint sound here means a feeble or a low sound. So he wanted to know what had happened. Okay. He sees that somebody had closed the door softly and was coming very quietly down the street. Huck quickly returned to his hiding place. He saw that the two men were coming out from the inn carrying a heavy box. Huck thought that it must be a treasure. उसे लगा कि जो एक भारी सा बॉक्स था दो आदमियों के हाथ में, वो कोई ट्रेजर था, उसमें शायद बहुत कीमती चीज़ थी, इसलिए दे मस्ट बी गोइंग टू हाइड इट समवेयर. Then he thinks that he should inform about this to Tom, his friend. But then again he realizes that it will take him a lot of time to do this, and by then the two men will disappear. Then he decides to follow the two men. Then the two men walked beside the river and they started climbing up the hill. Huck followed the two men all the way. It was on moonless night that helped Huck to hide himself. तो हक को एक एडवांटेज मिल गया क्योंकि वो मूनलेस नाइट थी, मीन्स अंधेरी रात थी. सो द टू मैन वर नॉट एबल टू सी हिम. वो दो आदमी इसे नहीं देख पा रहे थे, इसलिए ही गॉट एन एडवांटेज टू हाइड हिमसेल्फ. द मैन केम टू विडो डगलस's हाउस एंड स्टॉप्ड आउटसाइड. Widow Douglas is a lady whose husband was no more. Widow means a lady whose husband is no more, right? So they came there for some purpose. उन्हें कुछ करना था, इसलिए वहाँ पर वो आए. Huck was quite near the two men. He could hear all what the two men spoke about. There was no light, so they could not see Huck. Now the two men sees that there were lights in 3 rooms of Widow Douglas's house. तो उन्हें लगता है कि maybe she is not alone, there might be somebody with her. So they decides to wait there. Among the two men, one of them was Red Joe, and he was very angry with the fact that there was somebody with her. And then the other men, that is the companion of Red Joe, said that we won't be able to do anything, so we should forget it tonight. So जब वो वेट कर रहे थे एंड रेड जो बहुत गुस्से में था कि लाइट्स ऑन है, इसका मतलब वो अकेली नहीं है, देयर इज समबडी एल्स देयर. तो जब वो ये सुनता है कि उसका जो कंपेनियन है वो कहता है कि ठीक है, आज हम कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे, सो वी शुड फॉरगेट इट. रेड जो got more angry and says, forget it, never. He says that I will never forget that her husband, Widow Douglas's husband, had sent him to the prison, and now he wanted to take revenge on him. तो वो कभी नहीं भूल सकता था रेड जो कि बिकॉज ऑफ मिस्टर डगलस वो जेल गया था, ठीक है, और वो अभी रिवेंज लेने आया है वापस, क्योंकि मिस्टर डगलस की डेथ हो गई है, तो ही वॉन्ट्स टू टेक अ रिवेंज फ्रॉम विडो डगलस, राइट. I will take my revenge, he says, by killing his wife, and Red Joe says that I will kill her tonight only. And the Red Joe warned the other man by saying, if you are not going to help me, I will kill you too. The companion said that what are you waiting for then? Let us kill her tonight. तो वो धमकी जब देता है तो वो कहता है ठीक है, हम किसके लिए वेट कर रहे हैं. द अदर कंपेनियन सेज, चलो हम उसे मार देते हैं. देन रेड जो सेज दैट आई एम वेटिंग टिल लाइट्स to be out, and then we will proceed with the murder. But due to lights were on, the two men were silently waiting outside the widow Douglas's house. Now Huck was frightened, okay, because he came to know about the murder, and उसे वहाँ पर सब पता चल गया. उसे पहले लगा कि मे बी दे वर रॉबर्स एंड दे आर गोइंग टू हाइड दिस बॉक्स समवेयर, बट व्हेन ही हर्ड whatever they spoke, then he got frightened and scared. वो बहुत डर गया कि वो एक मर्डर करने वाले हैं विडो डगलस का. Then he crept away slowly from that place. वहाँ से वो खिसका जहाँ पर वो छुपा हुआ था. And he began to run. He ran till he came to Mr. Jones' house. Mr. Jones, as I told you in the beginning, that was a brave old and honest old man. Then he started shouting and knocking at the door, and he started shouting that please let me in, let me in. Something terrible has happened. So Mr. Jones asked who's there outside. He comes downstairs with his two sons and recognizes the Huck's voice and opens the door. Huck comes inside and tells everything what he heard and saw. Mr. Joe and two men later carried guns and started running towards Douglas's house. As each one of them were carrying gun with them. Huck did not know what to do, so he hid himself there itself and waited. तो हक नहीं गया, वो डर गया था काफ़ी, वो वहीं पर रहकर वेट करना चाह रहा था. सडनली ही हियर्स अ गन शॉट, तो सडनली उसे गोली चलने की आवाज़ आती है हक को, एंड ही जम्प्ड अप फ्रॉम हिज हाइडिंग प्लेस एंड स्टार्टेड रनिंग. He was so scared. The next morning he knocked at Mr. Jones' door again, as he could not sleep all through the night because he was really concerned about what had happened to widow Douglas and her well-being. तो really चाहता था कि widow Douglas को कुछ हुआ तो नहीं. The old man welcomed Huck very kindly and said that he was a hero and he was a brave fellow and offered him breakfast. Huck sat down at the table, but he could not eat anything because he really wanted to know what happened to widow Douglas. Mr. Jones offered a cup of tea to him as Huck looked very ill. फिर उन्होंने कप ऑफ टी ऑफ़र करी क्योंकि उन्हें लग रहा था कि वो बहुत बीमार दिख रहा था. The old man narrated whatever happened the previous night, how they were able to wound one of the criminals, but he again told that but he was not able to, he did not recognize the two men, so he asked Huck to tell more about the two criminals. And Mr. Jones also told Huck that he has informed all the villagers to find them and search for them in the woods. Woods means forests. Okay. Then then Huck told everything to Mr. Jones about their appearance, how they looked like, and he told that one of them was Spaniard and other was stranger, and he also told that he could recognize one criminal's voice, and he was a Red Joe. Then Mr. Jones realizes that now he came to know, when he heard the name of Red Joe, Mr. Jones and his two sons were surprised. The two sons stopped eating when he heard the name of Red Joe, because Red Joe was a big criminal. Then there comes a widow Douglas, and she inquires about what had happened to the two robbers from Mr. Jones. Then Mr. Jones told everything to widow Douglas, that they had come to kill you. Widow Douglas was trembling with fear after hearing this, and thanked Mr. Jones and his two sons with tears in her eyes to save her life. But then Mr. Jones realizes that he wanted to tell that it was not because of them, but because of Huck they could save uh, Douglas's life, widow Douglas's life. But then he realizes that he had promised Huck that he will keep his name out of the story, and uh, he did not want that Huck should get into a trouble. So this was the story. Huck saves the widow Douglas's life. This was so Huck was the main character, because of which Mr. Jones and his two sons could help widow Douglas to save her life. Thank you.